Welcome, Michelle, to our show today. We're so glad to have you on here. I have known
Thank
Michelle
you.
probably, we were just talking about this, probably since you were, 10 years old? And you started gymnastics, and I was coaching gymnastics at the club that you joined. I think I was your coach at one point. Not maybe when you were 10, but I know that
When
I
I
was.
was older. Yeah.
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 But yeah, we've known each other for a long time and had a lot of different life events, like some that took us apart, and kind of some things that bring us together. So we're really glad to have you today. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I am what you'd call someone who works with energy, light worker. I do core pattern readings. I do something that's developed in the last year. I call it divine intuitive coaching. And that involves me working with women to help them dig deep, ignite that spark inside, help them tune into their own inner wisdom, because that's really what it's about. Is that women need to, well, all people need to, but I specifically work with women. When we want to follow that path that we've been dreaming about, live the life that we're dreaming about, it really is about going within. And I myself have used mentors, coaches, and there's no way that I would have gotten to the place that I am right now without them. So I find the divine coaching is really neat. It's like a period of 8 to 12 weeks. And you guys would know this with energy, is when we commit to each other like that, it's like they're in my energy and I'm in their energy. And so we meet once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on the commitment. But within the period between, it's like I'll intuitively get insight or wisdom, or I'll see something that they need to see. And then I'll connect with them. And usually it's like at a moment when they were, crying or emotional, or they were going through something in that moment. So it's kind of just this neat interaction. So that's why I'm calling it intuitive divine coaching, divine intuitive coaching, just because it's just a neat partnership. And the idea is to get them more in tune with their bodies and their mind and their emotional status, and giving them tools and techniques to move through anything that's significant that they're going through, and just really seeing how self-love is important, and they are good enough. Yep. And the power, like helping them find their power again.
We talk a lot about in our classes is being disciplined, because
yes,
it's easy to see a pattern, but the discipline comes in is that you have to be vigilant to actually notice when it's come up again.
Yep.
When you're repeating yourself, and to catch it and go, oh, because even just a different pattern, because I understand about like the core patterns, but like there's lots of other little patterns too.
Yes,
and stuff.
Totally.
And what was it the other day? Something that had come up, that I was annoyed about something, and I'm like, am I? And then I had to stop, and I went, maybe I'm actually irritated because I'm actually okay with the way things are. I'm not, but my ego is trying to make me feel like I should be annoyed about this, but I'm really not. And there's always like that flip side sometimes.
Totally.
Trying to
the shadow side.
Trying to hook you back in somehow.
Your shadow's trying to keep you hooked into the pattern of the programming of resistance, to change, to everything else that would mean that you would actually have a different life and different emotional heart-centered realities than what is happening at the moment. So your irritation and the friction energetically comes to the surface, and the ego comes in and goes, no, like it's about this, don't look at that, it's about this.
Like, so I journaled it, and I was like, let's feel that out, where maybe I'm actually okay with the way things are. Like, things don't have to change, or that there are just some things that are beyond me to change, and I'm okay with that, because I know that I can change. Like, it's me. I have to change if I choose, and how I choose to do that. But I can't make do it.
Exactly. Another key to changing the patterns is, and that's what I found, is like the repetition. So when they have like affirmations or meditations, and these the core patterns, the more you listen to the energy or the words that will shift your thinking, it actually does change it at the cellular level. The more you hear, you are awesome, you are loved, like I am good enough, I am, like all these things that you just keep repeating over and over again, it does actually energetically change at the cellular level. And my mom used to always say, it's funny when I think about my mom, because she was ahead of her time, like, because she would say, she'd always had such wisdom, but she used to teach me about, like, your cells are listening.
Yeah.
And I remember just being like, Mom, like, like half listening, like, what are you talking about?
Years, what?
Yeah. But
you can change your cells.
Well,
yeah.
It's true, because I know even in class the other night, we were talking about having stuck emotions like in your body. And earlier this week, because I'm getting ready for a particular procedure in June, I have a lot of stuff coming out that it was still buried about from being pregnant, because when I was pregnant, my pregnancies didn't go the way I thought it would. Like,
right.
Doctors, people told me that, oh, you're fit, like you're going to have such an easy time. And I did not. Like my first pregnancy, I was sick for 3 months. I actually lost weight, and then I gained a lot of weight when I felt better and could eat again. And then she was early, and there was a lot of stress at that time. I mean,
yeah,
we worked together at that time, so I know you know.
Yeah, I remember they were very uncomfortable pregnancies.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. And so, but everyone was like, oh, but that's normal. That's normal. And I'm like, but I don't feel normal. And I don't think I ever acknowledged that, how sort of disappointed I was in the process, and sort of took on other people's projections and the uncomfortableness. And I had like uncomfortableness like coming out of some of my organs, because it would create like this sort of heartburn feeling. And I'm like, where is this coming? Like, where's this coming from? And then it was like,
the tension of holding the thought pattern, of holding the energy of the thought pattern, of it being so deeply embedded in your body, needing to come out.
Yeah.
It would make sense that there's probably some residual there, right?
Yeah, that there's stuff. And after, because I mean, you have children too, and I know for me personally, at that time when I was having kids, I wasn't as aware of all of this stuff. Now, I'm interested in it for sure, but not really doing that kind of work yet until probably after my firstborn. But even then, it wasn't consistent, and I did. I was kind of looking for support and stuff too to do that. But where you don't realize that you haven't even fully healed emotionally, from a pregnancy, because everyone's like, oh, well, your body changes and that's the way it's supposed to be, and then everyone just goes,
all this discomfort is natural, just grin and bear it, and blah blah blah.
And it's not until later, like actually in the last 2 years too, that I was actually diagnosed with, like, I still had birth injuries. And I'm like, my oldest is now 15. So that's like,
your oldest?
Or my youngest, I mean.
Your youngest.
My youngest is 15. Yeah. So, when you've actually carried those unknowingly for, 20 years or something, that's a long time. It's a long time.
Yeah. And
it takes time to then unravel it emotionally, physically, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and people have to be really willing to, right? Like people have to be like open to it and willing to, and you do kind of have to believe in it a little bit for it to work.
Change and
exactly.
Yeah. It takes work.
Sometimes if you sit and you try to be calm, you're just not. But it's that physicalness, like that's one thing like that I love about what I teach, like Qigong and Bagua, is that it really gets you into your body, and you have no choice but to just work through what you're feeling without anyone else.
Yes.
And that's and this is what we love to do. But I also love going for walks and stuff, and you like to dance, and you're always recommending. So there's lots of things like, people do yoga, and if you let yourself get into that, and, you're physically getting into your body and working it out physically. Like, I think that's something that sometimes I think is lost a bit in spiritual, like, work.
Yes.
Is
the physical part.
Understand the physical, how important that is.
The human, because we are humans, right? It's interesting. I wanted to mention to you too, is that's one thing I've created. I'm redoing my website right now, but it's called the Goddess Getaway, because we live on an acre, and I want to invite women, referral only, to come up and spend a day with me, and they pick 2 things, whether it's core pattern reading or Reiki or light weaving, what I want to promote is the dancing, because I used to teach the striptease. It was like the sexy hip hop class.
Yeah, right.
And it's so empowering. And it's like now I'm seeing how all the things I did in my life, you know, they finally are like lining up and making sense. But in my 20s, it was like, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. So I'm picturing like a goddess getaway where they come, we do the core pattern reading in the morning, and then they choose Reiki or they choose a dance class because I want to make a dance studio in our basement here. And then we can go on a hike, there's so many cool nature hikes around here, but it's that physical dancing. Or I talk about that in my last, I don't know if you watched that last podcast that one that before you asked me, because we talked about the spark. Like when you can ignite a spark inside somebody, that will lead to a domino effect of leading to like more good things. And you know, Kelly, how you're talking about, you know, your classes and like getting your heart going, and it disconnects you, or it just separates it so that you can kind of see clearly. When you, like, if somebody's blah, depressed, not doing much with their life, feeling if they loved hockey when they were a kid, played a lot of hockey, if they went out and played hockey for 10 minutes, can you imagine the energy that fills their being? So that's what I call like the ignite, right?
Because
ignite the spark inside.
The last podcast that we put up, I did with Alyssa and Ethan, and that's one thing we were talking about is things that you did as a kid that you loved doing as a kid, whether it was sports, drawing, or whatever. If you understand that creative part of yourself and how you carry that into your adult life, you can still play as an adult, even though you're doing adult, you know, quote unquote adult things. But in your work, like you can take that creative energy into your work or into your schooling, or, you know, get back into doing those activities that you really like to do. Like my daughter was saying that there were things that, you know, her job is very physical because she's a professional baker. So there's a lot of like lifting heavy things,
lifting
and
50-pound bags of flour. And
so she's like, and then she's like, you know, I always told myself that I couldn't move my body in certain ways. And she was explaining it. And then she's like, but I can, I really can. And I'm like, yeah. And like, even as her mom, like, I didn't know that she was telling herself that, because as a mom of multiple children, like, you don't know every story that your kids are going to tell themselves either, or where they're going to get that from, because it might not even be from you. It could be from someone else. So it's really such a joy as a mom to like hear my kids like catch a story that they've told themselves and then go, yeah, I'm not telling myself that anymore.
Oh yeah,
like,
totally.
How to move their body, and you know, and picking up. That's not even a good word. That's not even a word.
Yeah.
But you know, like
catching themselves.
They used to do that. They used to enjoy doing as a kid, and somehow
so powerful.
As a grown up, we're like, oh well, we have to be serious, and I can't do that.